That's not a common trait amongst, especially atheist YouTubers. I think we all display at least 10 of the 40 symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder.
You got to be a little
sure
full of
that's
yourself, right?
Well, any YouTuber, anybody who's out here on social media trying to put themselves out here, we are all a little bit vain, and it can definitely be in a fun and positive way. Like I think there's a good way to be full of yourself. No pun intended.
We're going to go backwards. We're going to start with Arden. Plugs. Hit it.
Yeah, I'm Arden Hart. You can find me at the Arden Hart on all social media. I host the Transatlantic Call-In Show on Thursdays, usually at 5 p.m. Central Time, but the next 2 weeks it's going to be at 6 p.m. I occasionally am on secular sexuality and other ACA things when they deign to have me. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is go to Twitter and you'll find all of the good more promiscuous links that you can find on my content.
Mm-hmm. Nice. William.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here with you all. I'm a Catholic apologist, debater, writer. You can find me in my channel, Patristic Pillars, or you can find me over at Reason and Theology, where I am one of the co-hosts. You can find me over at the Apocrypha Apocalypse, and I do a lot of work for EWTN, Virgin Most Powerful Radio, and Relevant Radio. So you can find me on all those platforms. Excited to be here with you all.
Greetings.
Yep.
Oh, shoot. Jonathan, sorry, I was muted.
You're okay. William, it's super interested you're Catholic and that we're going to be going over chick tracks because holy shit, did he have some things to say about Catholic people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am Jonathan Fuller. I am the head dungeon master for Nat One Heroes. I'll drop a link to that in the chat. You can find us at twitch.tv/Nat One Heroes. I'll actually be doing our homebrew campaign today, this Sunday, at 7 o'clock. You can find us every Sunday at 7 o'clock Central, except for Mother's Day when we had to, let people know they were important in our lives. But, aside from, that sort of thing, we're consistent. And yeah. I am not near as big as I should be. So if y'all could fix that, I'd appreciate it.
Agreed.
Indeed.
Jonathan's awesome.
See,
all right,
Arden
the
thinks I'm
to...
awesome. Arden, I love your shirt, by the way. Where can I get that?
Yeah.
Amazon. Probably doing the opposite of protecting trans kids by ordering from Amazon, but that's, you know what, it's all right.
There is no ethical consumption under capitalism. But also, I'll try to see if I can find a different place to get one.
The links to everybody's channel, everything that they just talked about is in the description section already. Jena Miyu at the very 11th hour couldn't make it. So Jonathan's a replacement. So his stuff will be in there directly following this show. Hello to Socialism Done Left, Dave, Critical Cripple, Trude Hell, Penny from Holistic Liberty. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go over now. There's 23 pages in this chick track. I don't suspect we're going to get through them all. It's just a way to start a conversation. In fact, this one, I'd like to hear Jonathan. I didn't know that Jack Chick was really anti-Catholic because that kind of piqued my interest. I'd like to learn a little more about that. Yeah,
he has a whole mess of shit on the Catholic Church. For one, he thinks they started Islam to sort of disrupt Judaism in the Middle East. It's very interesting. Yeah. No. He thinks they run the world. He thinks they're dangerous. And he thinks they worship Satan.
Oh boy,
William, can you confirm whether or not, as a Catholic, you worship Satan, real quick for us?
Yeah, I definitely do not. Definitely no. We worship the one true God. We worship the Trinity, and a lot of what Jonathan said is correct. Indeed, I'll be honest with you all. I did not go through the whole tract. I read most of it, And if you go to one of the early pages there, where it's talking about people going towards their judgment, he has the Pope there on the way to hell in this track here. So, I've been very well aware of chick tracks for a very long time. I think they're quite dangerous, and they're very hate filled. They don't. I don't think it's the right way to spread the gospel. I don't think it's the right way to talk about the faith. And I wonder who's behind them now. Is still the same guy?
It's Chick Publications now. It is a small LLC running out of California. They are actually, I think, listed as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Is that what?
But did Jack Chick already pass away? Somebody else?
Jack Chick passed away. Now I want to say 2016 or
okay.
I know he's been in the ground for a bit. Let me check real quick. But
I think you might be right about that. Yeah.
Last time I did, okay, this is the second one. The first one we actually read them. Of today, I'm just going to be putting them on the screen. If I go too fast, take note of the page number that you want to speak on, and I'll go back. But we're not going to be reading them. So as you guys are talking, they're just going to be flashing on the screen. So this is the first page right here.
Yeah.
And
William, I want to say, as an atheist, I appreciate you also noticing how dangerous Chick Publications is. Like that. That's important.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they're very dangerous. And I don't think it's the right way to evangelize. As a number of people know, I've been debating atheists for a very long time, and I remain very good friends with some of the top atheists out there, and they'll tell you that I don't agree with hateful propaganda that tries to denigrate individuals, or really, in my opinion, what are you doing? You're not drawing them closer to the faith. You're turning them off, and these are not good examples.
Yeah, certainly, it's going to be the last thing to drag me in is if people are telling me how awful I am.
Right.
Here's where it gets me, right? Here's where they really show their cards. Is at the end of this one, we're told that the biggest victim wins. So they're starting their straw man already.
And the thing is, at no point have we said that. It's the Shapiro view of the left.
Yeah, I also like this. They never have any other jokes about self-ID. So I love it's not forged. This is how I identify today as my mom, as if literally any trans people ever are claiming that that's how self-ID works. That's how they wish it works, because it's a lot easier to dismiss. But
it's the attack helicopter fallacy.
Yeah,
I identify as an attack helicopter. Yeah.
So
conservatives don't know how to make memes, do they?
Yeah,
they're not very funny as a political party.
There are actually some really good videos by some more news, specifically on the lack of comedy on the right.
And clearly, this is the direction he's taking this, because the next one is the same thing. Are you assuming my gender and age, as if any part of the trans community is asserting that an adult can identify as a child in that same way and then enter a kindergarten classroom? Like, that's just the straw man is easy to knock over, clearly.
Yeah, I need to specify that this is said in humor here because we're on YouTube. But dang, I wish there were some people I could assault and then get arrested.
Gender dysphoria is not considered a disorder per se. It's an outlier. It's outside the norm, correct? But there is no such thing as age dysphoria where you think you're a different age than you are. I mean, that doesn't exist, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same. To what extent such a thing exists, it's not the same as trans people. There are definitely people who, due to like trauma for whatever reason, can have like moments of age regression where like they might dissociate and like be fully convinced that they're in that moment, like, oh, I'm like as good as a child. Like you'll see a lot of very childlike behavior, like take care of me, like put a blanket on me, that kind of stuff. But definitely not in the sense of like, oh, I recognize that my identity fits into this category, and therefore I would like to take steps to like express that and have society and integrate into society in that way. There, no such thing exists for a trans age person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes,
And I don't know how to get
for
back to where I
adults
got.
who literally feel like children, we genuinely speaking help them out and feel sorry for them because of
Right.
their neurological needs.
I'm still emotionally and mentally 14, so does that count?
Yeah. I think that's how that works for sure.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, the persecution syndrome.
Mm.
It's our free speech, not theirs.
Yeah. I mean, you take a look at this right there, and it's painting a narrative of the Christian as a victim who is just doing something simple, like telling people to love one another. When William already noted that chick tracts are incredibly hateful.
Yeah.
They are one of the most hateful things you will ever come across in a gas station bathroom. And believe me, I used to work at one. I've seen the finger painting. Like, there's
Mm.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely correct on that. What I would add to that is we've got a lot of hate speech from both sides. You know, we can if we're going to be fair about it. If as a Christian, if I were to criticize those that oppose my faith, of course, without a doubt, there are groups that I think I don't agree with writing or any of that kind of activity. But also on the other side, the radical Christian groups, I think, need to be condemned as well. There are, I'm trying to remember the name of that group, Westboro Baptists come to mind. They're quite dangerous. So I think they're dangerous individuals on both sides. What I think needs to be called out are both sides. And the one thing that I don't think helps is making a caricature of what people believe and stand up for. So I'm aware of arguments put forth on the other side without having to riot, without having to pull guns out and attack individuals. And I think healthy discussion goes a long way. So I don't support making a caricature of what any side believes. I don't think you make any progress doing that.
Yeah. And I think a way to help that is being specific with exactly what group you mean when you're talking about things.
Sure.
For example, it's horrifically unfair to lump all Christians into this category. It's something we do a lot when we're discussing things, and I understand why we do it. But oh, hi, Beck.
Yeah,
But
Beck's in
where-
here. And I saw Orla Seraph. You guys know who that is? Been around forever, very ubiquitous, kind of an agent provocateur. I have never seen him or her. I don't know in the live chat before, though.
Yeah, I've
So
seen their name
get-
pop up on other live chats for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe a shit poster. So be ready to moderators. All right.
Yeah.
But taking a look at it, like we can specify Westboro Baptist Church or the Southern Baptist Convention, and we can specify individuals, and I think that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not what Chick Publications has ever been out to do. It's a very simplified, overreaching description of things that isn't accurate in general, but also I don't think it would be accurate on any level of specifics. Like, I can't think of a group who fits this narrative that Jack Chick pushed.
The most disturbing part is to get these images, I go to a Jack Chick YouTube channel. All they do is just read them. And the comment section, the people that fall for it, the people that are the thumbs up and the, yeah, way to go. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Really? Oh, shit. Please don't procreate.
Yeah, it's a little scary to think that those people have the right to vote. Not that I'm saying we should revoke it, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, these people influence public policy to some extent, don't they? That's scary.
And
Yeah, I've never been to their YouTube site, but I imagine they probably have a massive following.
well, this one, it's called Chick Tracks That Travel. It doesn't have, if I remember right, there's not a huge reach, but there might be one out there that I haven't seen that's wherever the repository where everyone goes. So yeah, they're still wildly popular. And like I said, a month ago. I didn't even know they were still putting these out. And I found one on my gas pump when I was filling up. I was like, oh no, these are still out here. I've got to get on board.
Oh,
Even though Hugo, not Hannah and Jake, is it Hannah and Jake now? They've
Hannah and Jake.
They used to do chick tracks all the time, and they're far funnier than I am. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. And cognitive dissonance, I think they've done some.
Also, I think this is kind of funny on like they're obviously that they're talking about like Satan here or whatever, thinking he was perfect, being cast out of heaven, but it's just kind of like ironic that I don't know. And I'm sorry. Feel free to tell me how wrong or I'm misrepresenting anything, William. I appreciate that you're like the Christian foil or Catholic foil here to the atheists who might generalize, but just this notion of like that there should only be one person who should be worshipped, or that anyone should be worshipped, and like that's a bad thing. That other people think that they deserve to have their worth recognized in this like Satan characterized thing. I think is just like. I don't know, indicative of like a patriarchal dynamic that they overvalue to a dangerous extent.
Well, I think what has got to be clarified by worship is what do we mean by worship? So as a Catholic Christian, we worship God and God alone. So we believe God to be triune. So we believe God is, I'm not going to go into all Christology right now. People will probably stop tuning in. But when we talk about worship, we talk about sacrificing to God, and there are certain modes that we give towards God alone where we would venerate. As I know a lot of people know, we give honor to saints. In Catholicism in particular, we give a lot of attention to Mary, but we venerate her. We wouldn't worship her. What is being spoken about, so I'll say this, so it doesn't shock people. There are certain things that I agree about the tract, but not because of the author himself, but because they're directly getting from scripture and merely just posting the verse. But when they go into providing their own theological bent, I don't agree with this tract. What I do agree with is that I don't agree with Satan worship, and I do believe the devil is an actual person. We might depart from that, but it's probably maybe a whole other discussion, but a discussion that I'd be willing to have with you all whenever.
That's why you're here, baby. And this is what the fans want. I tried doing disc golf on this channel once, and that was a huge mistake. And people want to hear that kind of stuff on this channel, William.
Right.
Regarding that, though, look at this slide. Now, just for your all's information, this is 23 pages long. At page 7, they completely abandoned the whole snowflake identity politics argument. It's almost as if they didn't have enough. Usually they stick to the topic a little longer than this, but from here on out, they have completely forgotten what this tract is all about. And it's just going to be preaching the rest of the way.
It is genuinely like Jack Chick has an incredibly short attention span. And the last 10 pages of a Chick tract is basically always the same thing.
Yeah. Mm. Well, the one we did last time, it was the last 4 pages, but this one, it's like they didn't have enough to talk about, triggered snowflakes. So they just gave up and just started preaching.
Well, there's not really anything more you can say with triggered snowflake. You take a look at Tucker Carlson trying to cover the topic, and he ends up rambling like a complete madman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's only so many talking points.
Yeah. William, though, on this one, I would like to point out to the live chat and to you to just confirm this. Lucifer, as I understand it in the Bible, is a misnomer. Satan is falsely equated. It's a false equivalency. Lucifer specifically, well, first off, it was Venus, the morning star. But then the first person to be called a Lucifer was Nebuchadnezzar II, the king of Babylon. At no point in the Bible is Lucifer even meant or inferred or implied to be connected to Satan. Am I correct?
You're partially correct. So in the Old Testament, you're definitely right about that. What then happens in the New Testament, they are not identifying the devil with that particular character from the Old Testament. But what happens is language utilized for Lucifer in the Old Testament is then utilized for Satan to show that Satan is a complete opposite of Christ. So you're correct on that point, in that originally that terminology can be found in the Old Testament, but it is utilized to make an identifying marker in the New Testament with a figure.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask.
Yeah. So is Lucifer more of like a almost like a slur for like a not godly person rather than like an actual name?
Well, the devil, the devil is portrayed in multiple ways in Scripture. So the very first time you encounter Satan would be as a serpent in Genesis chapter 3. And that identification is later confirmed in the Book of Wisdom. So it's okay, I got a little bit taken off track there. But Satan is portrayed in a number of ways. Usually it's a great dragon or a great serpent. Wasn't Mary 12? So Mary never had any sexual relations. That's the classical Christian belief. That's a biblical belief as well. If people ever hear that Mary had other children, that's a relatively very new idea. Biblically and historically, the early church never believed Mary had any child other than Christ.
Whoa. The Bible specifically mentions Jesus had brothers and sisters. James was his brother.
Give me one moment. Let me just answer this, and I'll touch upon that. Where it says Mary was 12. I think either 12 or 14. She was supposed to have been very, very young. But either way, the overshadowing is meant to talk about the glory of God, not an actual sexual act occurring there in the Gospel of St. Luke chapter 1. Yes, you're right, partially right there. It does talk about the brothers and sisters of Christ, but there's a major problem with that. Many other areas in Scripture, you hear of brothers and you hear of sisters. That's just a generic way of speaking of people that are either related to you in one way or people that are living under your household. They can be cousins. It's very common to use that terminology as we live in Texas. In Spanish culture, you see it in Mexican culture very often. Now, how is that the case in the Bible? You're talking about the Gospel of St. Mark, and where in Mark, and you can go to it right now, Mark chapter 6, you have the brothers listed, James, Judas, Joseph, and Simon, and then you read about the sisters in Mark chapter 6. The thing is that we're told that they're brothers and sisters. The Greek term is adelphos for brother, the masculine, adelphe, in the feminine, the Greek. And then it tells you how they are the brothers and sisters, Jim. It then follows it up by saying they are, related. They're kinsmen. They're syngenusin is the Greek word. That literally, so there tells you they're brothers, but how are they brothers and sisters? Then it says they are kinsmen. They're related. They're likely either cousins or related in some other way. But when it then identifies how they're brothers and sisters by using that Greek word, it eliminates the possibility of them being children of Mary, because that Greek term would never be used in that way.
Would you consider that a minority opinion?
Not
Do
at
you
all.
admit that that's an outlying? That's an outlying opinion.
Not even close.
No?
Your opinion would be the minority. If you look at the massive majority of Christians, billions of them, even if you look in Islam, you don't find any of the apostolic churches believing Mary had children. Catholic, Orthodox, toss in Islam there. It's even the very first Protestants believed Mary remained virgin. Martin Luther, John Calvin, Zwingli, Francis Turretin. It isn't until you get to the late 1800s, close to the 1900s, that they begin changing their theology in that regard. So it's actually, we hear of it a lot in Texas and other parts of America where they believe Mary had other children. But by and large, it is a real minority position.
Jonathan.
It's the official Southern Baptist position, the Southern Baptist Convention's position, that Jesus did have brothers and sisters, literal brothers and sisters through Mary. The Southern Baptist Convention is the largest Protestant organization within the United States. We might be having a sampling bias going on here as far as that goes.
Okay, what do you mean by yeah, I agree with you, the Baptist, but then again, what of the other Protestant denominations? Lutherans don't believe that. What about Anglicans?
William, I'm not sure if I was specific enough. I was agreeing with you.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
And I will do the same. Let me throw you a bone too, Jonathan, William, because we can infer from the New Testament that Joseph was quite a bit older than Mary, and those could have been stepbrothers. He could have already had them from a previous relationship.
Yeah, and I think
So
that you bring up a good point there, Jim. And I remember when I was in Dallas with you, Jim, and I was after the debate, we began talking about an early document, and in that early document, in fact, we did a whole show on it. In that early document, it does indicate that the community believed Joseph to have been an aged man with children from a previous marriage. So I do think that is a good point you bring up.
Yeah. But if we want to discuss more on Catholic beliefs, I would definitely recommend we tie this in later by bringing up the chick tract, Why is Mary Crying? It is 24-page.
I've read it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that as far as that goes. But
Arden, you had something? I think you were holding on to a comment.
No, I'm while I have read the Bible cover to cover, I am not as educated on biblical theology studies, whatever. I feel like I'm far enough along on the Dunning-Kruger curve to know my skill level, and it's not here. So,
yeah, I made a point of learning enough to shit on my dad, who got a master's from Liberty University. So,
sure.
This one brings up a question. I did not. I kind of half expected this to turn into a Bible study a little bit because, the whole snowflake identity politics, like I said, dropped off really early. But this, Lucifer misnomer. But this is an indictment on it brings up the idea: is there free will in heaven? Because now it's angels, it's not humans. But if a third of heaven could willfully rebel against Yahweh and then get banished, there's definitely free will in heaven. But it also brings up there's also sin in heaven. And a lot of Christians, I don't know if you are, will say that heaven is a sinless environment.
That's what I was taught, for sure.
So what we would, the manner in which we would differentiate is that when we talk about heaven, the Bible uses heaven in a number of different ways. So we would differentiate between the heaven, the eternal abode of where we believe souls would go to before they wait for the general resurrection, which we believe the body will be resurrected. We would differentiate between heaven in that sense and the heavens, as the Bible uses that Greek term in a number of ways. So when we talk about heaven, the eternal abode where we, after we're judged, where we as Christians, we hope to go to, we believe that is perfect. Nothing impure can enter there. And there is no ability to have free will and then perhaps fall at a later time. We would differentiate that from perhaps the utilization of angels in the heavens or in another location. The Bible does differentiate between the usage.
Dead air. Is it reasonable to assume that a married, they were only engaged when Jesus came around, Joseph and Mary, correct?
Okay. That's a great question.
We assume that they got married. Is it reasonable to assume they never? Why would Joseph have never wanted to get busy? I mean, really?
So that is a really good question. So number one, it is the likeliest case that in ancient Jewish culture you would get married and you'd have children, without a doubt. But you find examples through Jewish history of people getting married and living celibate lifestyles. You have an example in the book of Numbers, chapter 30. Then if you look in Philo of Alexandria and Josephus, early Jewish historians, you have examples of people living chaste lives even after being married, lives where they're devoted to God in the temple. Very different culture from the culture we have today. The person asking the question, Jim, is correct. Mary was betrothed, was essentially Joseph had a right to her already, but Mary's language indicates that she had no intention of having any sexual relations when the angel appears to her and says that she will be found with child. She says, "Let it be done unto me according to thy word." So very different. We believe as Catholic Christians that Mary's role was to be there serving Christ her whole life. So we believe the Holy Family was very unique in that aspect. So we believe that they did that they're a very different example, very different kind of family. But you can find other examples throughout Jewish history of people getting married and not having relations.
The phrase "Joseph had a claim to her" still is gonna.
Well,
feels like I got punched in the
I'm-
stomach there for a
well,
second.
you got to remember the time period as well, though. So it's a very different time period to today. When I say he had a claim to her, I don't mean that he literally owned her. I mean he could have had relations with her during the betrothal period. So he could have had sex with her, but we clearly see that they were not having any relations at all. So it's very different language, as you know. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I have a daughter. I would definitely never speak down upon women. And I think one thing that gets misrepresented is the idea that all Christians hate women or speak ugly of women. Look, in the Catholic Church, we have an incredibly high view of women. Mary is considered the greatest creature ever by God. So we give honor to women as we should to anyone.
I mean, I think we're gonna have that would be a whole separate discussion about what it means to honor or value women, considering
Sure.
the Catholic position is pretty much what has informed a lot of this anti-abortion sentiment in our country. That is now
Well, we
turned
could definitely
women into
do.
second-class citizens.
I would disagree.
I would have a hard disagreement on if that's valuing women, but
I would love. I'd be willing to do a show on that without a doubt.
okay.
Answer this, Will. This is my question.
Oh, well, I'm. Come on, man. I mean, I'm drinking Diet Coke right now, and I'm not Protestant, am I?
Oh, I didn't even notice. You're a closet Protestant.
I'm a closet. You got me. Okay, so
Wait,
you know,
what am I here? Because I got the Coke Zero.
Yeah, that's what I got as well.
What am I? I'm double fist in decaf coffee and IPAs.
Oh,
So weird. So weird.
Damn.
Technically, mine is cognac and Coke, but yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Jim, there
With
really
Grand
shouldn't
Marnier.
be. There shouldn't be so much animosity. If you look at the work that I've done, as you know, Jim, I've been debating for a long time. I've debated a lot of Protestants, so they can tell you, even atheists, they can tell you they continue debating with me and remain friends with me because I'm not nasty, I'm not mean, and I remain friends with them. I don't think there should be so much animosity. I find it unfortunate that this is going to shock you, Jim, but you know this. Maybe you don't remember because we were drinking that night, but we were talking when we were over there in Dallas, and I made a comment to you saying a lot of my atheist friends treat me a lot better than some of the Protestants out there. I mean, it really should not be that way. And I really, really hope that things change in the future.
No, Coke Zero. We have to take that one. Come on. I mean,
I don't know
think
about
about
that.
it. Think about it. We have to be Coke Zero. I mean, it's obvious, right? There was a good
do
question
like
in
Coke
here.
Zero.
Oh, Ashira. We're talking Ashira. We're talking proto Hebrew, back when they were still firmly part of the Canaanite culture. Ashira. Why are so many Christians in general so unwilling to admit that the Hebrews came from? They didn't just spontaneously spring up out of nowhere. They were Canaanites. They were It took 600 years for them to go from polytheism to monolatry to finally, around the time of the Babylonian captivity, to full-on monotheism. I mean, do you agree?
Let me briefly comment on that comment down there. Now I want to be very clear. I'm very good friends with Bob Price, and I've heard him make the argument. I've seen the argument on I forgot the name of that channel. Myth. I come on. I mean, I know.
Hey, we can talk about the drama. Yeah,
I'm
this
still
might be
friends
good.
with Bob Price, but let's talk about what Bob Price has said and Myth Vision. Myth Vision, by the way, is one of the sloppiest channels I've ever laid my eyes on. Does some good work and then some very embarrassing work. That video,
Derek's the only atheist YouTuber, maybe Dark Matter 2525, that I'm actually physically intimidated by. The guy, I met him at the Faithless Forum. The dude is fucking, he's a brick shit house. He scares me. No, I like the channel. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. The Asherah connection is what I was going to say. I've done a whole video on him. I think it's really, really ripped out of context. But I've seen Catholics embracing that. I mean, you're not doing yourself a service by embracing that connection there. I do not accept that connection.
You don't accept the connection that there was a Canaanite origin of the Hebrews?
Oh no. I'm sorry. No. I'm saying that I don't accept the connection. I was reading the comment down there of Asherah that I was commenting on Bob Price and Mythvision saying that Mary is in essence a copycat of Asherah. I don't agree with that. I think Bob's done some good work, but he's a little bit sloppy at times as well.
That's a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
John Arden, any comments? We're gonna go. Oh, let's see.
I was all geared up when we were talking about Canaanite origins of Hebrews, but outside of that, not really. No. Now that I know we don't actually have a disagreement on that.
So many would though. Okay, let's get to something we might disagree on. That's good television. Okay. Eve, her selfish desire.
Give me a brief moment here.
Sure.
This art is bad. It is bad. Take a moment and take a look at this.
It's pretty bad.
Jack Chick was not ever a professional in the comics industry. He was an illustrator for the Army, I think, shortly after Vietnam. But I would like to have seen what his portfolio looked like before he started this, because I cannot imagine it was particularly good. There is no composition to this. It's a mess to take a look at it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good at all. I'm going to have to agree with you there.
Take a look at this. The panel is drawn in such a way that the text boxes have to exist outside of it.
Well, the serpent as well, the devil looks quite goofy. He doesn't look intimidated at all.
Yeah, he looks like a reptilian alien. And I think that's a real photo in the background that just has like a grayscale filter put over it.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
But check it out. Check it out, though. Is the serpent lying to her here? I mean, look at it. The way I read it, William, correct me if I'm wrong. Everything the serpent ever told Eve was correct.
Well, in a way, he did speak some truth, but the idea of the fact that when they partook of the garden's fruit, that they would live forever, was a lie, because the fall was actually them within biblical theology. The fall was them losing, in essence, their immortality because they fell into the lies of the devil. So. In biblical theology, what they did, it wasn't only Eve's fault, by the way, it was both of their faults. What they did is viewed as the origin of original sin entering into the world. So we do believe that the devil was cunning, the devil was evil, and we believe it was the devil here in Genesis 3.
The serpent never said you'll live forever. It was Yahweh that originally told Eve and Adam that you will surely die if you eat from it, which was that was the lie.
Right. Well,
unless you say spiritual death, you were going to probably say spiritual death.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, first off, the devil does tell them that they'll be as gods, and there's an implication there of immortality. But yes, what it's talking about there is spiritual death, because it's interpreted in the book of Romans as being spiritual death. So it's not literally a physical kind of death. It's a spiritual death. It's the death of the soul that's being referred to.
Yeah. Real quick, pushing back just real quick on that. It says you will be as God, knowing good and evil. The quality of God right there is what it's talking about based upon my reading. Sure. Now, that being said, I'm not reading it in the original language. I'm relying on someone else's translation. I don't know, but
yeah, so one of the qualities of God in Scripture is that of being all-knowing. So that quality is equated over and over with the immortal nature of God. So that, without a doubt, you find that all throughout the book of Genesis and other Old Testament books. So I think that's what's being implied there. The one area where I know there is a bit of difference, and I know Jim is probably aware of this, because Protestants will say that it isn't only spiritual death being referred to there, but also physical death. So that's an area, an avenue of discussion that can be had. As a Catholic, I think it's talking about spiritual death. I don't think it's referring to all physical death as well. In other words, I don't think that death automatically equals original sin.
You said it could possibly be a literal physical death. Let's play that hypothetical out. If they had not eaten from the forbidden fruit, they are immortal. How
Yeah.
long do you? How many years do you think it would take for the Earth to get? If no one dies, how fast would the Earth completely fill? I mean, come
So
on.
that's
Really?
That is, of course, that's a school of theology within Catholicism. They're very different thoughts there. So if you look at the Thomist school, they have different thoughts on that. And if you look at the school of Duns Scotus, they believe differently, that perhaps had they been preserved of nothing, no kind of misfortune of the garden, that they would have lived forever, but they would have still had corruptible mortal bodies. So there are a number of opinions there that, I don't really have a firm opinion on that, but there are differing opinions there within Catholicism on what would have happened. Would they have aged? Would they have would they have died? Would they have been protected within the garden? So there's a lot of different thoughts on that.
Yeah. Could you go back one page real quick, Jim?
Yes, sir.
I would like to draw your attention to that ear. I know ears can be one of the hardest things to draw because we don't look at them particularly.
Oh, goodness.
But the inner canal of the ear is running out into his hairline.
Yep.
I didn't notice that because of the obvious in the foreground, the phallic image.
Yeah.
That's
what I
was
also
fixated on.
If they haven't been kicked out of the garden yet, why is Eve wearing a leaf bralette right there?
Oh yeah, they weren't ashamed of their bodies yet. What? Talk about that, William. I mean, when their eyes finally open up, they become ashamed of their bodies. Is that just not the most the Victorian era? Just oh gosh.
Well, I think the idea is they become more aware of their mortality. I think that's the kind of message that Genesis is trying to put forth. It's trying to show you that they're aware that they have sinned in the eyes of God. The previous question was, I'm trying to remember what they were saying. I don't agree. I think it's very clear that the serpent was meant to be the devil from the very beginning. The reason being, the serpent talks, shows cunning, shows intellect, and throughout the whole Bible, that figure is identified as being Satan. So I think it was meant to be the devil from the beginning.
I'm liking this discussion so far. You know what? From now on, I am going to be intellectually honest. I'm going to have at least one believer on every time we do a chick track because I'm liking this.
Well, again, I would definitely recommend having this particular believer on if you want to discuss why is Mary crying. I think that
I'd love to
conversation.
I would.
You know what? Let's do it. That's going to be our next one. I'm going to do this. I got a little project for YouTube Shorts. It's going to be like a 7-minute video, and after that one, next live show, maybe this time next week, we're going to do that. If
I think
got time,
that would be best for me. That would be best.
Yes. All right. Okay. The serpent lost its legs, and its punishment was to crawl on its belly and eat dust. I mean, I know it's kind of low-hanging fruit, but atheists, especially when they first deconvert, and they're like, look at all the contradictions in the Bible, they'll go to the low-hanging fruit. They'll go to the obvious incongruities in the Bible. If you're banished to a snake that's banished to slither on its belly, that doesn't sound like a punishment. And then eat dirt, which is an obvious scientific, inaccuracy. And things in the Bible where like they include bats in the bird family, obvious things like that. Is that even worth commenting on?
Well, I think for me, I would note that a lot of the areas of Scripture are trying to show you either a moral teaching or give you an example of why something happened in a certain way. I don't know what you're talking about bats. I'd have to look at that particular passage. But I think the thrust of Genesis 3 is to show you of how original sin entered into the world. And the main point of Genesis 3 is verse 15, which we don't get here, which is actually a prophecy of the Messiah. And believe it or not, funny enough, even the mother of the Messiah there in Genesis 3:15. Look at that. That's what I was talking to you all about. Right there. If you look at the right-hand side, you've got the Pope right there.
Oh, I didn't notice. You're right.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the Pope right there. So, yeah, I do want to be very clear to the audience. Chick tracts are not the way that I would recommend evangelizing, and they're very anti-Catholic.
I'm going to be honest. He drew more white people in this image than I was expecting him to draw.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm looking at it. You can see that there are a number of darker people that he put in there, and you could make a good case that this is quite racist in the way that he portrays some of these individuals.
Oh,
There's
definitely. He's got a whole chick tract called what is it? Camels in the Tent. And guess what the camel's a metaphor for?
I don't know. I've never looked at that. Is it pretty racist?
Oh, no.
Oh,
It's
yeah, wow.
racist.
Oh, we're gonna have to tread carefully if we do that one. Terms of service. What I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, the NIFB Church. If you guys were talking about Westboro Baptist earlier, the NIFB is much more popular nowadays. There's multiple churches, and there's happens to be one. I almost could walk to it. It's not that far from me, and they keep getting evicted and popping up somewhere else. But they're right here in Dallas Fort Worth. But I think his name's Jonathan Shelley. He's not the main one, but what does NIFB stand for?
Independent Fundamentalist Baptists.
Yes, they're the gay haters, the trans haters, the ones that.
Yep.
I have to be careful here. The ones that say the government ought to the death penalty for them. I mean, it's Westboro times 3 at least. But they regarding all the white people in this, the pastor once I've got a clip, and he said, "It's okay. It doesn't matter what color you are in this worldly, fleshly life. When you get to heaven, we're all white." Oh, what?
Wow.
Dude.
Ouch.
Wow.
Yikes.
It's terrible.
All right. Oh. Okay. We're like sheep. Isn't it Jesus who's the lamb? And there's a lot of symbolism in the Bible: lamb and shepherd and sheep and flock.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like.
Know it?
Was it?
I was just reading. It says we all know it deep down and we deserve it. And I said, do we know that deep down? I'm pretty sure I know for a fact I don't deserve going straight to hell. But sure, okay.
There is a passage. There is a verse in the Bible that says it's written on our hearts, right, William? Like, the atheists like us, we're just in denial. Like,
William, do you think I'm in denial? Is it written on my heart that I know I'm going to hell? Tell me.
Now, I don't think, first off, it's not to me to judge the eternal destiny of anyone here. But first off, I would add that there is a particular Protestant group that emphasizes that we are all so filthy and useless to the point that we are all deserving of hell. I want to be very fair to Protestants. Not all Protestants hold that belief, and definitely Catholics do not believe that at all. So despite us believing that we, as Catholics, we would believe we are fallen, we have a fallen nature, we need God, we wouldn't use that kind of language that we're all useless, we're filthy, we're deserving of hell. I think that's very, very unfortunate language. And I think the language we would emphasize, even if we believe people are wrong or sinful, or that they do need Christ, they do need to come to Christ. So that's what I would emphasize to you or anyone else. And I don't know if you're a believer. I don't know personally if you're a believer or not. But if I would find out you weren't, of course, my goal would be to preach the gospel to you, but it wouldn't be in the way that the chick tracts do it. I think there are better ways of doing it.
Well, William, I have come to Christ many times, and I'm still pretty sure I'm not going to hell.
Awesome. So you are a believer then?
No, I'm not. I was making a sex joke, but
okay. Yeah.
Arden, can you clear up something for me? I don't know the name of the band. Take Me to Church.
I don't even know if I know that band. I know the song though.
You know the song I'm talking about.
Hosier?
Yeah, brother.
Hosier. Yes.
something like that.
Now I've heard that in a certain subculture, take me to church means give me an orgasm, basically.
Right
Has anyone
on.
heard that, Jonathan? Can you clear that up?
I
No.
love how we have somebody who is clearly more experienced at sex than I am. I run a D&D stream, man. I don't know what you think I got going on.
All right. Anyway,
But okay,
Sounds about right to
actually,
me. I mean, he's talking
I am-
about
I am
worshiping
somewhat
at her altar or whatever. So
I'm
that's
somewhat tangentially involved with communities, shall we say. I repair furniture for people, and sometimes that furniture takes an interesting spin, and I meet interesting people, and I won't go more specific than that because the clientele I do that for appreciates some level of anonymity.
fair.
William, the Pope is he's the Holy See. He when he gives a decree, a proclamation, it is coming from the Lord himself. Yes?
No, it would have to be a dogmatic and infallible one. He would have to be speaking from the chair of Peter as the vicar of Christ. So it's
But
very
he has
different
the power to do that, though, right?
correct, per the Bible itself. Now, there's a very big difference. Let me give you an example of the Pope would give his own personal opinion on a matter. He could be wrong in theological matters or in personal opinions or what have you. It's a very different thing than if he were to bind the whole church to something, which, by the way, there's really nothing that the Pope would be binding people to. The last one was the bodily assumption of Mary, and before that, the Immaculate Conception. There really isn't anything else because those teachings, even though they became dogma later, they were believed by the universal church beforehand. So it would have to be something already believed by the church at large. It'll be biblical, and it would have been believed through church history. But we don't believe the Pope has any special powers per se. We believe that comes directly from God.
When he did, was it an offhand comment or was it set in stone when he said atheists do go to heaven?
Now, I don't remember the exact comment he made. I would have to look at the context of it, but I'm pretty sure that he would definitely mean he was probably talking about people that would be invincibly ignorant. He's made those comments before. He wouldn't mean somebody that outright denies Christ or denies the faith going to heaven. He would make that qualifier. I don't remember the exact statement. I would have to look at it, but that would not be, that would be his own opinion. That wouldn't be, in essence, the words of Christ, or in essence, be an infallible kind of statement.
I had one more question. Is there an official Catholic stance from the Vatican on homosexuality or transgenderism?
There is an official stance on homosexuality. So when it comes to the act of homosexuality, that is without a doubt condemned. The individuals themselves are not condemned as, going to the pits of hell, as some people within evangelical groups would do. But the acts themselves, they are condemned because you find them condemned in the Bible. So I got to be honest with you all, they are condemned. I don't like using the term the Vatican. I would say by Catholicism, because if it's clearly in divine revelation in Scripture, then it would be condemned also. It would be likewise the stance of the Catholic Church.
You guys, chime in.
I mean, I'm trying to think
the
of.
conversation.
I feel like I have thoughts or questions about that, right? Because I mean, like that's a bold claim. Having gay sex or whatever is condemnable, but like, what does that actually mean to you? Do you think people who do that are bad?
Well, I think it's sin. So it's biblical that it is condemned. So when I'm telling you what I believe what the Bible says, and I believe what has been put down by the Catholic Church. Yeah, I don't approve of it. Now, do I have friends of mine that are homosexual? Yeah, I've got really, really good friends. I've a number of close friends, but I don't approve of, homosexual sexual relations, if you will. I don't approve of.
So Arden, being trans and an atheist, she's not going. There is no Dante's. There's not 7 levels of hell. I mean, you're going to the same hell either way, right? I mean, me, Jonathan, Arden are already going to hell. Arden being trans is not going to
Yeah.
make it worse on
Whether
her, right?
you have consensual, romantic, loving sex with a partner who happens to be the same sex with you, or whether you steal, we're all going to get burned in eternal hellfire, right? So,
Well, again, as a Catholic, there's no way at all that I can pass judgment, eternal judgment on the condition of anyone's soul.
and
But
I
I would
appreciate
say
that.
I
I
would-
appreciate that. If I can cut in, I appreciate that you're saying that, and I hear you, and I think that's your attempt to be human with us, and I appreciate that. But like,
I would
you
say that
believe
anyone
that's
does.
happening to us, right?
Well-
like you
well,
believe that I'm going to go to hell for all eternity, right?
Let me be very clear with you. I'm not trying to be politically correct or trying to win any followers. I'm very honest about
No.
everything that I believe. My hope would be that anyone here would come to Christ and particularly become Catholic. I have no idea how anyone's life is going to end, how anybody's end will be, but it is my hope that people will come to Christ. But I don't know. Only God knows their heart. I do not know your heart.
William,
But I do think homosexual acts are sinful, and I'm not on board with them.
So, William, real quick here. I don't believe in any God. If I die right now, I'm going to hell. Yes?
I cannot pass judgment upon you, but
I'm not asking you to pass judgment.
Yeah.
As a person who does not believe in a God, when I die and I don't change that, I'm going to hell. Yes?
the biblical belief would be that your soul would be lost. If you knowingly, let me be very, very clear. There's a very clear distinction made there. So you can talk about people that knowingly reject God, willingly detest God and reject the faith, and then individuals that may be completely ignorant of the faith. I'm not saying you are. I'm just drawing the distinction. Now, if you willfully, with your knowledge, reject God, reject the faith, and are just completely not accepting of anything in regards to the faith, Scripture, and the church do teach that your soul would be lost. But again, as strong as those statements are, I do not pass judgment upon anyone, because the Bible is also very clear that it's only God and God alone that knows the hearts of individuals.
Okay, so do I know my own heart at all?
In the sense of what?
In the sense that I know what I believe and what I don't believe.
Right. Yeah. I think when the Bible talks about only God knows individuals' hearts, it's talking about the fact that only God has perfect knowledge of every single individual. So I'm pretty sure you do know what you believe. So you completely deny the faith, but
deny is a strong word. I think it's wrong.
You think it's wrong. What do you mean by wrong?
I think it's factually wrong.
It fails to demonstrate its own positions.
Why would we come to a Catholicism when you can't demonstrate that it's true? Look, Matt, you got big words, Matt. If you want to debate that issue or not, we can debate that issue here on the Atheist Edge.
You said earlier that you've debated all the biggest atheists. If you haven't debated Matt, you haven't debated all the biggest atheists yet.
Well,
are you willing to do that?
I'm willing to debate Matt, and I think that comment's it's incorrect, Matt. So why would we come to Catholicism? I can demonstrate that Catholicism is the true church.
Oh, wait, can you do that right now?
How do we do that?
Yeah, do that right now.
Okay, so it's a number of steps that would have to be taken. As a Catholic, I would
Can we start with step one?
We've got 32
and
minutes
demonstrate
left
the
on
truth of each step as we go along.
Yeah, so if somebody would have asked me how I believe Catholicism is the truth, I think the bodily resurrection is the strongest proof. So
I don't think we have any proof of that.
Okay, well, but you're asking me to tell you a number of things, whether you disagree or not. Let me lay it out. And then
here's the thing. If it's a whole step of things, we can start at step one. And if you can't get past step one, we don't have to worry about the rest of it.
Well, I can guarantee you I can get past step one when it comes to the evidence for the bodily resurrection. So,
really?
Yeah, I think we have strong, I'm looking at all the questions down there. I think we have strong evidence for the bodily resurrection of Christ. Let me go back to, hold on. Let me go back to what I said just a moment ago as well. Jim, set up something. Let Matt, that I will let him know that I will debate him here. on this channel, get something set up. You can be the moderator.
Now, I'm going to tell both of you right now. I don't do formal debates. I believe they are they're unproductive. Only 1/3 of a formal debate is actually productive. It's the cross exam at the end and the Q&A. That's the only productive parts of a formal. So we're not doing formal. It's going to be an informal. I'm going to keep my damn trap shut, and you guys are going to have an informal back and forth. And there's not going to be any opening fucking statements. I hate that shit.
Yeah, Jim, I got to be very honest with you. Whenever I do debates, I don't like long opening statements. I think they're a bit of waste of time. So that's why I like them being short. But I'm totally with you. An open discussion, I'm totally with it. As long as a moderator, you allow both individuals to speak equally.
William, come on, you know me already, baby. Oh, answer my question here. So I've heard that being unequally yoked in the Bible means only marriage. Do you agree with that? And how do you square the circle that you and me at the bar having drinks, and I consider you my friend. I'm a Marine. When I make a friend, you got a bond for damn life. How do you feel like you're a friend of mine when you know for a fact that I'm going to be drowning in sulfur in about 20 years?
I don't think you're going to be drowning in sulfur, and I think you'll live longer than 20 years. You're in pretty good shape. I've met you in person. The other point being, I don't know about unequally yoked. I'd have to look at how that is used in the Bible. What I remember, I think it has to do with marriage only. I don't remember clearly, but Christ picked the biggest sinners to be part of his ministry. He hung out with sinners, so I would never tell anyone that I'm too good to hang out with them. I'm not. I consider myself a lowly sinner. There's nothing special about me at all. And I consider you a friend, Jim, and I would love to have a beer with you again. In fact, I'm jealous that you probably are opening a beer there. But I don't want to.
You heard that? Yeah.
I don't want to miss Jonathan. I don't want to be unfair here. I want to extend the offer of not a debate, but maybe a whole show just talking about the evidence of the resurrection. And Jonathan, you can tell me, well, I think it's stupid. I think it's terrible. But I'd love to do that with you in the future. I think that there is.
Where do you live, William?
Near San Antonio, remember?
Okay. Check this out. Provided Matt and Arden can do it. I'm going to be in Austin from July 8th to July 23rd, and I'm only 3 hours away. So if we converge on there, we find Matt's house or somewhere.
Let's do it because I go to Austin.
Then the three of us can just do it. I'm all about in person. It'll make it way more fun.
I go to Austin very often. I've got family over there. I'm going to be over there in July, including in June. So I'm totally up for it. Let's do it.
Oh, Matt wants an answer now, though. Okay. So what was
you want me to demonstrate why Catholicism is a true church right now? Look, Matt, to me, it's a very long discussion. I believe that there is strong evidence for the bodily resurrection of Christ. And I think if you can prove that, then the other words of Scripture, particularly in Matthew chapter 16, where the keys of the kingdom are given to Peter, I think it's very easily demonstrated throughout history that we've got more individuals that were popes, that were the head of the church. They were viewed as having that role given by St. Peter, given by the Lord. They were considered the successors of St. Peter. When we look throughout church history, you see it throughout that unbroken line going all the way, demonstrate a lot of evidence that I look at. I like the earliest evidence outside of the Bible. What I think is particularly strong is if we look in the apostolic fathers, so these apostolic early church fathers, I think that they provide strong evidence of talking about knowing or seeing eyewitnesses. So we have evidence from Irenaeus, who is writing in the 100s about Polycarp, who we know was taught and trained by the apostle St. John. And he talks in his fragments about them having seen the eyewitnesses.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay ×2.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
that's just double hearsay.
Okay, well, I'm just giving you examples of throughout history. We can show that unbroken line. We have it in St. John, and then we know for a fact.
You don't have an unbroken line, though.
Yes, we do have an unbroken line.
I have to push back on this entirely. The earliest Gospels are not written by eyewitnesses.
I don't agree with that.
We don't know who wrote them, but they admit that they're not written by eyewitnesses in part of them.
I disagree with you. So, but hold on. I'm replying to two people here. Matt, I'm going to be very clear here. I don't think Matt has a clue of anything in early church history. So you can keep saying blah, blah, blah.
We're gonna go lock the door. 'Cause he's gonna come busting down.
He doesn't know church history. I've heard Matt try to break down the doctrine of the Trinity before, and it was a butcher attempt. So when we sit down and we talk about church history, then you can go ahead and make whatever claim you want to claim. There are people that are much better at this than Matt is. John Loftus knows church history much better than Matt knows church history. Robert Price knows church history much better than both of them combined.
Oh, wow.
And you might not like his political stance. I'm talking about the knowledge of church history, though. So,
oh, shit. I said I was going to close the door off.
Hey, when you cite
Hi,
people
Matt.
that were born a century after Jesus and then try to proclaim that
Matt.
I'm the embarrassment, you
Yeah,
already
Matt.
lost. So
Matt.
when you get around
Show up
wanting to
when I'm
really
upset,
debate
Matt.
someone who knows what the
Matt.
fuck we're talking about,
Matt, you
let
don't
me
know a
I
thing
got
about
two
church
shows you can
history,
call on
Matt.
either one of them today.
I'm not going to call into your show, Matt. Be a big
I
boy
don't
and
know
show
shit.
up. When
You're
I go to
citing
Austin, Matt,
century
let's see
later,
how big a
jackass.
boy you are. Let's see how big a boy you
All
are.
right.
Show up.
Okay,
Wait,
boys.
Guys,
okay,
let me
boys.
switch gears.
The
Can
playground
I switch
is
gears real
done.
quick?
I'm going to make one comment.
Let's
Jim.
try to get back on
Jim,
to something
let me make one comment,
Okay, go
Jim.
ahead.
I've debated guys whose intellect and knowledge and church history blows Matt away. I've heard Matt on the Unbelievable Show talk about the Trinity. Look, Matt, if you don't even know the Bible, don't come trying to talk Christology with people.
Oh, stop.
You don't know
Now you're just
Christology
now you're
101.
just slinging shit,
No,
William.
no,
I'm not.
Atheist Edge.
Oh my
If it's
God.
okay,
No, I'm not.
there are 400 atheist YouTube channels, and the reason we have an edge over our compatriots is because we keep it non-confrontational and we keep it we kumbaya. All right, we can disagree,
show up in
but
Austin.
we're all going to take it down a notch because that's what Atheist Edge does. All right, now let's try to get on something we do agree about. So, what was something
Well,
in the?
let's move away from Bob Price then.
Yes, no.
Okay,
I think
think
that,
guys are-
that's it, Arden. I think that's what we
I'm
need to
only
switch
talking
to.
about his history, though. His knowledge of church history.
Well, first I'll say I love John
I'm
Loftus.
just back to
Oh,
quickly apologize because I didn't realize this was non-confrontational when I get called out for not knowing what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you.
forget
I love
Thank
you, Matt.
Love you too. Have fun.
I didn't think you wanted me to do that either. I apologize. I'm not trained. I wasn't trained.
No, it's all good. But if I do host you guys, we gotta keep it nice and
Yeah, we'll pull out a
intellectually
beer.
honest.
It'll be a blast. We'll pull out a beer. We'll have a good time. We'll have a discussion.
And
Come on,
that's
Jim, you
why
know me.
in person, no, if we do it in person in Austin, it will accommodate that because being in person is a different dynamic. It's now it can get kind of spicy, but it tends to not be. And
Yeah.
I like that. That's why I like in person. When I have Aaron and two other atheists against three Christian pastors from the neighborhood right here at my table, and Aaron still goes ape shit. You know Aaron, but it still
I know him.
it promotes a more. It promotes a more. Everyone's drinking and we're having fun. That's what I
Yeah.
want.
We did that when I debated John. We had a great time there. And look, come on. I've been told to my face that I'm a moron by John, and we're friends to this day. I talk to John very often. So come on. I'm able to have a
Yes.
healthy discussion.
I have so many other questions. I'm not giving enough airtime to Arden and
Yeah,
Jonathan.
I'm going to be
So,
quiet.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing. Jonathan and Arden and Jim, I hope there's nothing that I've said that's been offensive. I really hope so.
Hell no, man. Hell no.
I'm not offended, but I will say I wish I feel like when Jonathan and I were both trying to get you to like take a position on whether or not we're going to hell, I feel like you weaseled the fuck out of it because like
Okay.
I was not asking at all what the Bible's position was. I wasn't asking what the
But I
wait,
believe
let
in
me
the
finish.
Bible, though.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wasn't asking what the Catholic Church's position was. I know you believe the Bible. That's why I was asking you, do you believe that after Jonathan and I die, we will be burning in a lake of sulfur for all eternity? And you kept saying it's not my place to condemn. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking if it's your place to condemn. I agree it's not your place to condemn. I was asking, do you actually think once we die, these people you're in a conversation with right now, because of what the Bible says, are going to spend eternity burning
I
in
think
the lake of fire?
I think if anyone were to continually deny the faith until their dying breath, I do think that person would end up condemned. I do truly believe that.
Okay.
Matt, number one, you got his name wrong. I mean, that doesn't do you any favors. I wasn't also using Irenaeus as evidence for the resurrection. I was using them as evidence for the fact that there is an unbroken line, the fact that Irenaeus was taught by Polycarp. You didn't catch that. Polycarp knew the eyewitnesses. That was a point I was trying to make, Matt. Now, I'm not going to go any further. We'll talk in person, in public. I'm not going to go any further there.
Yeah,
that's
put
the point.
Phone down, babe. No more commenting because you'll steal our show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, it'll be great when we sit down and we have that discussion. So that'll be a ton of fun. I didn't know that you knew Matt. Great. I didn't know that you and Matt. I had no idea Matt was there or where you all are. So I wasn't.
Matt is my boyfriend. We've lived together for a while.
Yeah, Arden.
I got to meet them both. Which reminds
Arden
me,
is one half of the most popular atheist power couple on earth.
Oh,
and Jena Miyu was supposed to come on the show. Jenna and Oz, I think, are the up and coming atheist power couple next to maybe Paul and Shannon. But Arden and Matt, yeah, so they're together. I'm
massively outnumbered here. There's nothing I can say that will sound compelling at all. So I will.
I don't want you to feel like you're put in.
No, I'm not. I think you all have been so fair that I've been talking too much. So I want to talk a little less because I think I've been dominating it. I don't want to be dominating it.
Well,
no,
I mean,
you know what? From now on, every chick track needs to have. Every time I do this, it needs to have one believer on here. This is making
I thought
so
we were
much
going to do the
better
Mary
conversation.
Are we going to do the Mary one after all?
Yes, let's do that next week. Let's just go ahead and just touch on Bob Price. It's on everyone's mind. It's the 400-pound gorilla in the room. Come on, Arden. You know you want to. All right. So
I do want to say something first. Bob Price is my friend, so I'm not going to be too hard on him.
Okay. Now, I don't know specifically. I'm in the dark. But there's been a lot of allegations levied against him about racism, maybe sexism, and we all are fully aware now of his MAGA policy. I mean, he's fully right-wing, on board, drinking the Kool-Aid with Trump. Does that mean that he's not, that his views biblically are inaccurate? Does it have anything to do with his biblical accuracy?
I wouldn't think so.
Oh.
I mean,
William,
do you want me to comment?
Yeah, or
I don't think. Now, I want to be very clear and fair. Other than one image that was sent to me, I have no idea what they're claiming about him making a racist comment in the past. I don't know what they're talking about, so I don't want to come on here and claim that it's a total lie. But I have not seen any evidence. But what I was shown was taken out of context. But even that being said, I don't think that would tarnish his incredible knowledge of the Bible and church history. I have found that when I dialogue with Bob Price, even though I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, that he is very sharp, very sharp. He knows Greek, he knows the early church, and he's a difficult guy to pin down when it comes to debating. And
you mentioned John Loftus. I really shouldn't be biased about this, but the one formal debate that he was at, it was my fault because I just opened a tab for him. I paid for everything. And yeah, exactly. And it was prior to, if I were going into a formal debate, I would want to be clear-headed, maybe one drink, but I said, hey, drinks on me. And he took me up on it. I really shouldn't really complain, but he doesn't seem like the most professional human being on earth, knowing that you're going into a debate and just taking advantage, not taking advantage, but just drinking way more than you should have prior to it and then embarrassing yourself.
Wait, this was a debate?
Too well there. I don't think he did very well.
Yeah. I mean, he knows his stuff when he's sober, but if he's watching this right now, I love you, John, but damn, dude.
John knows Greek
drinks are free, but come on.
That's Greek as well. John is good as well. Look, there are a lot of people that debate in the atheist world, and I would think that John is when he's not drinking, as Jim said, John's very sharp.
But you said Matt is like F tier compared to John and
look, Matt's there. Matt's not going to like it, and Matt's going to rush in here and tell me off. But my comments that I said earlier, I stand by them.
I everything I've seen, like when he's talking historically, it's been very cogent. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and it's just me. I go back and fact check it, and it all checks out every time.
Well,
not
I'll
one
make
thing
this-
Matt has
okay.
ever said that hasn't checked out.
I'll make one comment, Jim, excuse me. I'll make one comment. You're not going to hear the kind of errors in the Bible and misrepresentations on the basic teachings of our faith. You're not going to hear that come out of Bob Price. And I've heard it multiple times come out of Matt.
No, you will hear him lie about like minority communities though.
Okay, but we're talking about the Bible right now and church history. And I have never.
Oh, I thought we were talking about all of this. Wasn't that the whole point of digging
I've
into
never
it?
heard him talk bad about my
Okay,
community.
so Matt's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
"Stop invoking me."
And
Probably a good idea.
I'm not trying to completely bust your balls, William. Maybe a tiny bit, but I mean, like, I don't. And to Jim's question earlier, do I think this has an impact on his knowledge of the Bible or whatever? No. Do I think Richard Dawkins is a less intelligent person because he buys into transphobic propaganda? No, of course not. He's clearly a highly intelligent person.
I also
But
think less.
Sure,
of
the drama around them, I think, is more than warranted when at a time where this minority group is actively losing rights that we have achieved due to this exact misinformation. Yeah, I think it's justified to call these people out and definitely hold their feet to the fire.
That I could not have said that better. That's beautiful. Let's get through this. We got a few more. And, we got 45 minutes left. We got more time to talk about some other stuff too. You'll hear. Yes. Yeah. It's like separating the art from the artist. Like Morrissey. I love Morrissey. I love the Smiths. I fucking love the Smiths. But Morrissey is, when I found out he was super right wing, fucking, is it Tory over there? A Tory is a super right wing MAGA guy.
In the UK.
Yeah, it kind of messed with my head a little bit. It does. And do I stop liking the Smiths because he's a right wing piece of shit? No, I cannot. Do I stop liking Louis C.K. because he kind of cornered women into his hotel room and masturbated in front of them? Louis C.K. is still just as funny as he ever was, but there's that little wrinkle. Like, he's kind of an asshole, right? I mean, how do you square it?
Jim,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me putting it on you, and I'm not trying to cause controversy, do you remain friends with Bob Price to this day?
I will never have him on my show, same as David Silverman.
Okay.
But I'll be amicable with him if he ever wants to talk. Same with David.
Would you have a beer with him?
I don't think so. Just I get so many people that want to do that anyway. It's just no. David Madison. There's so many, like David Madison. He's just a genuine great guy, and he knows just as much as Bob Price. I'd rather have a beer with him or Matt or Aaron if we're talking phylogeny.
And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with wanting to have a beer with these people. I would love to be able to sit down with a lot of these people because I feel like if they actually heard, actual information, actual data about the stuff that the more misinformation about marginalized people that they spread, it could maybe have some impact on them if they truly are intelligent people like they seem to be. But yeah, I think saying they're not welcome on my show for the time being sounds like a pretty fair way to go about these things until there is a little bit more information at hand.
So God sent his son to this remote outback. I mean, at the time, we're talking 1 CE, right? We're talking at a time when China, India, the Incas, so many civilizations were thriving and really just the culture and the technology. But he sent his son to this trader village. I mean, was that a smart move? Could he have sent him to Beijing instead? The terracotta area, in the Ming Dynasty, would that have gotten a little more traction?
Possibly. I mean, one of those things that's just fun, endless speculation, I guess. But
Well, it blew up
Williams.
early either way. The faith blew up. It blew up quite early on. You have evidence of that as early as the 100s. So,
Okay,
still
so
stop the growth or prevent it.
real quick, it's assumed that takes place 32 CE, the death of Christ.
Mhm.
And 100 CE is sort of like your baseline for blowing up early?
Well, you've got evidence with the conversion of St. Paul, which I know a lot of people don't believe truly happened, but you have evidence early on with the conversion of St. Paul. By the time you get to the 100s, you clearly have evidence that the early Jewish community are so worried about all of the people leaving Judaism and converting that they began to ban readings of their very own proto-canonical books because they're utilizing them to worship Christ. So I think it's very early on when the movement begins to pretty much blow up, to the point that we have, even in the earliest apostolic Christians, they're being martyred, they're being killed. Their writings are still being shared, they're still being copied very early on, despite there being a limited number of them being written. So yeah, I think it really does blow up. And by the time we get to the late 100s, you've got catechetical schools that are popping up already. In third century, it's pretty much unstoppable. In fourth, with the Edict of Milan, it's even before that. Third century, you're even having councils. So it went well, I think.
This
Okay.
might surprise
So-
you. Go ahead, Jonathan.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I'm hogging too much airtime. Go.
So do you think that there's no time for myths and legends to build up during this time?
I think it's always possible for a myth or a legend to build up. I think we have that within Gnosticism and in all of these groups that were condemned by the Catholic Church early on. I think we've got legends that pop up early on. Those are particularly why you don't have any of those other gospels making the cut into scriptures. I think
And
they did.
how do you determine that Catholicism is not part of the legend as far as that goes? As far as
So I think the evidence is extremely strong. So the one thing that I like looking at before even looking at the positive evidence is the evidence that comes from the enemies of the faith. So if you look at the early writings, such as from a Lucian or even before him, where they're condemning the Christians as being cannibals, as being people that worship a man, there's a very clear distinction being drawn there as to which group is being condemned as the followers of Christ, as we have preserved in Greek in their writings of the early enemies. And this group that is being condemned is the Catholic group, not the Gnostic or any other group, which don't do some of the stuff that they are condemning. When we put the evidence of the hostile witnesses, the enemies of the faith, together with the early followers of the faith, I think to me, it's very clear. He's talking about the early Catholic Church and the early movement, and we're able to trace that lineage unbroken throughout church history. So,
and I have to push back on that again.
okay, well, I mean, again, I'd love to do a whole show just on unbroken lineage, because I think you can definitely trace it, even if you believe that these writings are, fake or fraudulent. We've got evidence throughout church history.
I want to start at the very beginning of this thought. It might surprise you, William, to know that I would say I'm a majority opinion amongst atheists that we do believe, I can't believe I'm speaking for everyone, so a lot of people are going to disagree with this. We do believe that at least 6 or 7 of Pauline epistles are genuine, and Paul did exist.
Sure. Yeah,
he physically put pen to paper, even though he never met Jesus. He met his brother James, but he physically put pen to paper himself. He didn't use a proxy 40 years later.
Yeah, but you would know this very well. In fact, all three of you would know this, that there is a movement with it, and it's becoming prominent within atheism or skepticism, where they're denying that. So,
We're still the majority, I think.
Sure, right now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You believe that as well, Jonathan?
No,
No, you don't believe.
no,
Paul?
I believe that Paul wrote a number of the epistles.
Okay.
We all can agree that Hebrews, Timothy, Titus, I don't know about the Thessalonians. Hebrews, Timothy, and Titus definitely were apocrypha. I mean, not apocrypha, but pseudepigrapha.
Yeah.
I do remember that the one that specifies that it is not, in fact, fraudulent is fraudulent.
I don't know what you'd be talking about there, but
Titus.
I probably agree with you when it comes to Hebrews. The problem with the Timothy ones is that, excuse me, that goes back and forth there, Jim. And you even got Bart Ehrman, who has seemingly in new writings is saying that he believes it to be Pauline. I'm trying to remember exactly what came out. I don't know if he was definitive on that or not, but you have scholars now that are moving towards them possibly being Pauline. So Hebrews, I probably agree with you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest, Jim. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Greek, but when it comes to Hebrews, I don't think that is Pauline.
But all the really anti-women stuff is in the pseudepigraphal. So that's actually good for Paul that he didn't write the stuff where women should keep silent in church and don't ask any questions and wait till you get home and ask your husband if you have any questions. That stuff Paul never wrote. But for Philemon, where he's trying to talk a slave into going back to his master, that was Paul.
So one thing that I would say, whether it be controversial or not, it probably is controversial. Even the Catholic would have no problem whether Titus or the Timothy epistles were written by St. Paul. That would not be a major problem. What we would affirm is that the scripture is still inerrant, and we would believe what would be written in there. We would have no issue whether it was Pauline or not, though.
So even though it didn't come from the source, even if it was third-hand information, it's still divinely inspired, and you're going to believe it no matter what.
Sure. The reason being is you even have multiple writings in the Old Testament, which, for instance, the book of wisdom, the wisdom of Solomon, is not trying to deceive the reader into believing Solomon was the actual author, but rather that the wisdom in there is akin to the incredible wisdom that Solomon had. So I would believe it to be God-breathed and to be inspired in that regard. Again, I am Catholic and I believe in the authority of the church. So that's another reason why I believe scripture to be inerrant. I think a Protestant would have a big problem with that, but based upon what authority do they believe the Bible to be inerrant, particularly because the Catholic Church put the Bible together. So I think Protestants would be in a bit of a pickle there.
Dead air. Let me get back to the next screen. Okay. See, it's just preaching from here on out. Oh, let me go back one. There's a question I wanted to ask. Maybe it was one more back. No. There was something.
Hey,
3 days later. 3 days later. It wasn't 3 days later. It was 39 hours later. 3 days later and on the third day are not the same thing. You do agree with that? If he died Friday night and he came back Sunday morning, that's not 3 days. That's on the third day. That's 39 hours, not 3 days. So
right. It would.
Yeah.
There is. I don't think scripture is contradicting itself there. I think it'd be perfectly fine if you look at it being on the third day. You don't need it to be mathematically 24 hours.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
But how about this? They buried him at sundown on Passover. Passover, the Sabbath.
Sure.
Right? So it specifically says in the New Testament that the Romans placed guard Saturday morning. Well, there was by my estimation, there was a good 12 hours with anyone, like say the 9,000 people that he fed by the lake, could have come and snatched his body. There was a good 12 hours they could have snatched him out before the Romans posted guards.
Now I've heard that argument used a number of times. I think that we can speculate upon a lot of things, Jim, but there really is no evidence of the body ever having been stolen. So if we would actually have any evidence of it, or I think based upon the fact that he was such a prominent figure, which he was a very prominent figure, I think had the body been stolen or recovered at a later time, I think they would have made much about that. There would have been some kind of writings, yet there's really no evidence of that. So I don't think the body was ever stolen, and I don't think there was ever enough time for the disciples to have gone and to have stolen the body. And I think if you look at, I'll add one other thing, I don't want to be dominating. If you look in the 100s, if you look at the writer Tertullian is a very prominent ecclesiastical writer. He lays down the fact that even before his time, there are a number of Jewish claims as to what happened to the body. They didn't only have one claim of it merely being stolen by the followers of Christ. So I think that that's evidence of them trying to figure out exactly what happened, all the while denying the resurrection. But of course, I affirm that he did. I truly do believe that he did bodily rise from the dead.
I'm trying to get. I promised Beck I would give him a
Yeah, I do
channel
think-
moderator. No,
Yeah.
so you guys continue. I'm going to do something.
Yeah, I think even critical scholars would probably argue that Moses did exist. I don't know what you all think about
What?
that.
No. Moses existing at all is not something that's agreed upon by scholars.
Okay, when I say critical scholars, I say a massive majority of them would agree with him existing. Now, what?
No. Sorry,
We have to
William.
push back on this
I
one.
love you, bro,
Okay.
but you are
Well-
in an extreme minority right now.
Well, I don't agree with you at all.
Jewish, sectarian, and secular archaeologists, the ones in the field doing the work. Moses is it's a fairy tale. I'm sorry, dude.
Then
If you
how
wanna
about we-
try to
how
say
about
that
we-
yeah.
How about we do a whole show just on whether or not Moses existed?
I'm going to have to give me a month because I'm going to have to reread
it's
Israel
definitely-
Finkelstein's the
I'd
history
be
of.
interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with you all. What I am aware of.
Maybe better yet, is Israel Finkelstein still alive? I'm assuming he is. Let's just get him on. I'll find a way to get him on.
I totally don't agree. What I see being very common is the denial of him being the author of all of those books that are attributed to him. Especially, of course, I would agree. It's very likely he didn't write about his own death. But
Yeah.
Dude, he's it's all a fairy tale. The whole
I
Exodus
don't-
thing, it's a
Yeah, I don't agree.
complete fabrication.
Well, hold
like,
on,
from
though.
beginning to end.
Now, whether or not I do believe that the Exodus did occur, but we're talking about whether or not he's a real historical figure, though. Now, whether or not those events did occur, that's a whole other thing. I recognize a lot of critical scholars don't believe that happened. I recognize a lot of critical scholars don't believe that happened.
Okay.
That's fantasy. But whether or not he's a real historical figure,
Well, I don't care if the guy existed. I mean, the real
That's what I
question
mean.
is: did 600,000 men come out, were enslaved in Egypt, and come back to the Promised Land, which, by the way, was still owned by the Egyptians at the time? If they had gone back to Israel, they would have been taken captive because that was still an outpost for Egypt at the time. Did I just destroy this? Okay. Everybody. Okay. Arden, you haven't said a word. Okay, I'm going to go to the next frame. Find something to
I'll
say
be a
about
little bit
this.
quiet. I don't want to dominate the whole thing.
It's all just preaching, though. Arden, let's try to find something to talk about.
Yeah, it is mostly. I looked a little bit towards the end of it. It's a lot of the real.
Well, this is
No.
what chick tracks typically devolve into at the end of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they
it's-
don't do it this early usually.
Well, again, I
After
think
page
Arden and I
7, they
touched on this
stopped it.
earlier.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do on the snowflake thing. They have the one joke. There's only so many points you can make with it, and you got to move on.
Let me put on my. Let me try to think what they say about. They'll say, "Oh, the in Canada, Jordan Peterson is fighting back against the 31 gender pronouns that you have to that colleges in Canada have to refer to you by." And he said, "I'm not going to do that." And they said, "Well, you're going to get fined. And what if I don't pay the fines? Then." He's basically saying, I get prison time if I don't refer to you as the gender that you want to be. See, there's a lot of different avenues we can go down. And
Wait,
Chick
are we
Tracks
talking about-
doesn't think about that.
Are we talking about what was it? CB8 was that law that Peterson was raving about? Is that what you're trying to refer to?
Canada Bill, was it CB 18? I forget. Jordan Peterson. It only pertained to the college campuses, though. It wasn't a nationalized bill. And it was you must conform to the gender. You must refer to them as the gender that they I'm just saying this chick track didn't dig very deep. They could have gone off onto some different tangents, and they decided to start preaching on page 7.
Yeah, sure. They had the opportunity. I mean, if they wanted more talking points like that, it's not like they're the conservative party or that the numerous different groups that are fighting women's rights and trans rights and
Well, I think,
LGBT rights.
Jim,
It's
if you
not like
want
they don't have enough like talking points to pull from.
if you want somebody to go through some chick tracks to tell you which
Wow.
ones are worth taking a look at, I can definitely take a little time.
Oh, dude, you have the actual chick
Now, why
tracks.
would you have all of them? I'm curious. Why
I
do you-
used to work at a gas station as
Okay.
a maintenance person,
Wow.
and like every single day there would be a new one on the soap thing. So
Now,
I got a whole box of these things.
if you don't mind me picking your brain, why is that? Did the store, do they pay for them? Why are they there?
No, it's
Uh,
people
no.
pumping gas and they just put it there.
Oh,
Truck
okay.
stops are high traffic areas. The goal with chick tracks, like they even recommend leaving them at truck stops if you
So
go
they,
to their
they put them
website.
there then. The
Yeah.
people that own them don't
People-
buy them. Okay.
People
No, it's
order
customers.
these. They used to order them through mail order. They now order them online, but they order them. I think they still have the mail order forms actually from California. Get them sent out, and they do. This one right here is probably the most prolific one. I don't know if I can. Yeah. That is the most commonly purchased one, and it's the ones that all others seem to be based off of towards the end. It's interesting, but there are ones on Halloween. There are ones on
Yeah.
Evolution.
Yeah, by the way, I love Halloween. I celebrate Halloween. every
William,
year.
Halloween's
William,
great.
if you and I were at a bar and we're talking about Arden, would you say you wanted to refer to her? Would you say her or him?
Yeah, I would, despite disagreeing with the movement, I would refer to Arden as a her, even though I'm not going to say anything to offend Arden.
But can I ask you another question then on that note? Would you refer to me as she, her because I look like a girl and because I what we would say in the community, I pass? Or is that because you think it's the right thing to do to
I don't think it's the right thing to do per se. I'm not going to disrespect you. I don't think it's the right thing to do because I don't agree with the movement.
Well,
but I would not disrespect you because you were in public, and even in private, I'm not going to say something to disrespect you. So
sure.
it's not my desire to offend. Is the point. And plus, I'm not making any. What kind of an example as a follower of Christ would I be making to say something to personally offend you?
Sure. When you say you don't agree it's right, do you mean from like a God ordained like moral like perspective, or do you mean from because I can tell you there's boatloads of evidence that would affirm that the validating the gender of trans people is one of the most significant factors involved in reducing suicidal symptoms.
I'm aware of the fact that a number of them have committed suicide when they. I'm aware of those issues. That's a very, very, very touchy subject. I am very well aware of them. Again, if I was in public having a drink with Jim, there's nothing offensive that I would say towards any of you all, despite the fact that I may disagree with you all strongly on any particular issue.
Fair enough.
So if I were to say there's nothing wrong about me sucking my boyfriend's dick, would you disagree with me?
Yeah, I don't think that is right. I wouldn't get into a conversation with you about that.
Why not?
Number one, if we're at a bar having a beer, I'm not going to get into a conversation with you about something.
What if it was organic to the conversation at hand, though?
Yeah, have you ever talked with your boys about oh man, I hooked up with this girl, she was so hot. What if Jonathan was I was with my boyfriend, we were fucking, and it was so bomb. I sucked his dick, and it was great. That you wouldn't be oh, cool, good for you.
I don't have those conversations with my friends. I just don't have them. Yeah, I don't have those conversations. To be very honest with y'all. So no, I wouldn't be partaking in that conversation.
All right.
I'm being honest with you all. I'm not trying to be.
Oh, I don't think you're lying. I'm
not
shocked. I feel like everyone talks about this stuff.
Sex is
surprised. Not everyone does. We'll talk about sometimes sports, or I like talking a lot about theology. I talk a ton about theology, so you can't shut me up when it comes to theology.
I finally got a disc golf partner. So he comes out, we go and play a couple courses on the weekends. He's a hardcore Christian. He thinks Noah's Ark existed. Well, when he goes on to his physical evidence of the Ark having been found, I tried to deflect, and I would like to play disc golf, please. Yep. And I'm happy to have a partner. But
Well, I'm very happy for you, Jim, that you have found a partner, and I wish you many happy years together.
thank you. But we can have fun. But I'm a Marine, and next to sailors and longshoremen, we are the worst cussers on earth. And I have to limit my F-bombs
Sailor.
or he gets offended. And so I just do that because I just need a partner. I don't drop the F-bomb. I don't even say, if we're on hole 3 and I had a thermos full of decaf and I got to go piss. I'll say, I have to go pee. I mean, I have to really temper myself, but I need a partner. So I do that for them.
I feel like I'm less inclined to sanitize myself in that way.
Oh, shit. We got Tangelo in the chat.
Oh, Tangelo.
I don't straight out just like people either.
I love
just
me
like-
some Otangelo. Give me some Otangelo. Like I said last time, talking to Otangelo is like masturbating with a cheese grater. It's slightly enjoyable, but mostly painful.
Oh my God, that is really accurate. That 100% is how it goes.
I love him.
Angelo, I still fucking hate you. Eat trash.
Understandable.
I don't know who that is.
He won't get offended if I say this. He's a one-trick pony. He's like you guys know Jeremy Spry?
No.
No.
He's the number one-trick pony. No matter what you're talking about, you could be talking about going to the club last night. He will bring the conversation back to DNA is a code, and codes have information, and information has to be made by a creator. Like he will find a way to bring it back to DNA is a intelligent design. It's the most uncanny thing I've ever seen in my life.
Is he an author?
It's what? It's the
debater?
Shroud of Turin or something like that,
dang.
right? That's his niche thing that he's obsessed over.
That too.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love talking about the Shroud of Turin.
Do you think it's fake or real?
I think it's real.
Dude,
I don't think it's
all the carbon-14 dating on it has been from the medieval times, like 14th century.
You're
How can
wrong.
you say that?
That's such an old argument that has been debunked. You're wrong.
Really?
But let me,
Who
hold on.
debunked it and how?
I'm trying to remember the latest documentary that came out. There's a number of individuals that have studied it. I would recommend looking at the work of Dr. Jim Bertrand. He's one of the top ones that have studied it. But let me add to it before you all jump on me. Y'all are laughing and jumping. I mean, even if I may believe that it's real, I don't think it proves the bodily resurrection. I've heard people say that it does prove it. I don't think it does. I think it's an incredible relic to church history. I do think it's real. I don't think it proves the faith, though. Maybe he does. Maybe he makes an argument that I have not heard before, but I think it's an incredible relic. We have a lot of amazing relics, but as far as going further and claiming that it would prove the resurrection, I've heard people say that before. I don't know how they would draw that conclusion that it would prove the bodily resurrection, despite the fact that I truly do believe in the bodily resurrection.
Do you guys pronounce it Kiev, or Kiev?
Kiev or Kiev, right? Isn't it?
I don't know. Kid.
Well, now
I don't actually know.
Modern newscasting will call it Kiev as one syllable, but it's
Right.
actually two syllables. It's Kiev. It's emphasis on the first syllable, Kiev.
Okay.
Originally, we called it Kiev, which was not accurate. It's actually Kiev. But Kiev, if you said Kiev the old way we said it, it's actually more accurate than just saying Kiev. The Shroud of Turin, I never got why we take foreign cities and we make them a different word. Like Firenze is Florence. And, the Shroud of Turin, it's Torino in Italy.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
That's my OCD talking. No, the shroud. I'm looking it up now. I can't do it on the fly, but it is a fake.
I don't
It
think
might
it's
be
a fake.
it might be a conversation for later then.
Yeah, I think that the
Yeah.
portion that was examined and studied was dated to the Middle Ages, but I think a very good case has been made that they're through. I even think it's not even a month or 2 months old. They came out with a very good documentary making the case that it is much more ancient than the piece that was studied and examined. But again, I do want to be very clear about one thing. I don't want people that are tuning in to think that as a Catholic, you have to believe in the shroud. You don't. You don't have to believe in relics, period. You can believe a lot of them are fraudulent. I believe that a lot of the relics out there are fakes. They were created in a fraudulent manner. But then there are some that I do believe to be real. I am compelled from what I've heard from Dr. Bertrand in his latest study. I'm compelled to believe that the evidence is pretty strong, leaning in favor of it being real. About 4 years ago, I leaned the other way. Now, again, Jim, you might come out with something and say, William, look at this is why I disagree with him. Look at this. And I may say, Jim, you got me. I agree. The evidence leans more in your favor.
So what you're saying is you're willing to change your mind with evidence.
Of course, I'm not. I don't know a whole lot about it in the sense that I've done a deep dive. Like
I hear that a lot, but then now back it up. I'm going to be Matt Dillon real quick.
Now, here's
give me an example where you did change your mind based on the evidence. I can give you 6 right now.
I was Protestant for many years, and I converted because actually I went through let me break it down. I went through a period of not believing in God when I left Protestantism before I converted and became Catholic. So based upon studying, doing meticulous research, I converted to Catholicism. So my mind can be changed. I'm not stuck into something without being able to be open-minded and read things from a critical perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
we
aware
have
of
exactly
what
50.
Wikipedia says. Yeah.
Oh, well, Wikipedia is a great starting point, and then the references that they give. Then I go into peer-reviewed journals. People will take a huge shit on Wikipedia, but if you look at the footnotes, it can get you into some actually reputable peer-reviewed
really
shit.
Stuff. Oh yeah,
there's eight sources linked right there.
Yeah.
Presumably, all of them are academic articles, but
you could probably find 100 academic articles that will say that it's a fake, and then you could probably find 100 ones that say that they believe it is real.
You won't find 100. You'll find 100 that say it's a fake, and you'll find 5 that say it's not a fake, and then
you're very wrong.
Will gravitate towards those 5.
You're wrong. There's a massive community that's come out recently in the past 20 years that have argued that it is real. So you can find a ton of writings just in academia of people arguing that it is real. Now, even if there's 100 to 5, it doesn't mean the 100 are right and the 5 are wrong. The evidence needs to be weighed, and the evidence does have to be studied.
Well, no, it wouldn't mean that. You're right, but it would mean that overwhelmingly the evidence would indicate that it's not real. I
don't agree with that either, because the massive majority of papers written were before the past 20 years when this movement has come about with people reevaluating it. So I don't agree with that either.
We have exactly 13 minutes left. I think it's time for final thoughts and plugs, upcoming events, where we can find you, your social media, your channel, any books you've written, debates you got coming up, and we'll go in regular order. We'll start with Jonathan.
So, hi there. I am Jonathan. I am the Dungeon Master for Nat 1 Heroes, which is a TTRPG, tabletop role-playing group, actual play format. You can find us at twitch.tv/Nat1Heroes. I'll go ahead and put that down in there. We play a homebrew campaign every other Sunday, and we play a pre-written campaign made by Wizards of the Coast, Rime of the Frost Maiden, on alternating Sundays with student Dr. Ben. You may know him as the Dungeon Master for that. It's homebrew tonight.
Nice.
You can go ahead and address Matt.
I haven't played pen and paper D&D since, 2014. And I would love to just have someone over. I got a big house. You on
sometime.
Dude, you're down in Austin, you said?
Oh, no, I'm in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
But if I come up for another conference in Austin, we'll definitely have to get together. I'll do a one-shot or something with you. We'll get some people.
Be awesome.
We'll get some beers. Shit, maybe we can get R and Raw there if I have enough stouts to supply him.
Yeah.
No, we get the Excalibur soundtrack going in the background, some candles going. You got to set the mood, man, and then we'll do a one-shot dungeon.
Oh shit! If we're getting 10 candles going, we might as well play 10 candles. I think that would be a fun game for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. What
Arden's
that is.
played that with us before.
Yeah, that
Really?
was a good one. That was a fun,
It was
very
fun.
silly, kind of like, yeah, it was good.
Comedy
You
horror.
guys want to answer Matt's thing before we continue, or
Yeah. He might have missed the part where I said that. I'm compelled to believe that the evidence does seem to lean in favor of it, but I'm not dogmatic on it, and I don't think it proves the bodily resurrection. I would never utilize the Shroud of Turin in a debate to prove the bodily resurrection. I think we have much more evidence that we need to prove that the resurrection happened. I wouldn't be using the Shroud for that.
and now William, upcoming events. Have you written a book yet? Have you put all this on paper?
Yeah, I've written 2 books. I've written one on the Eucharist, and I've written one on Mary. And particularly, I was inspired to write the one on the Eucharist because of John. I was talking with John. Believe it or not, actually, not just John. Jim. Jim might not even know this. One of the books that I wrote, I had Jim and I had John in mind, because one thing that we talked about doing a future show on, which we never did. It was years ago now. The pandemic hit. Was we talked about doing a show talking about Eucharistic miracles. And I'd love to do one perhaps in the future. You remember that?
That
You
would be
remember
good.
that, right? I don't know
I
if you
believe
remember
so.
that.
Yes.
We talked about that. We were having beers over that. We talked about that. But I've written 2 books. I have a lot of debates. I debate a lot. I have a lot coming up this year. I'll be debating a lot over there in Pints of Aquinas. You can find me there. And I'm going to be debating Islam as well. I'm going to be in the Dallas region, Jim, close to November time. I'll be having 2 debates against two prominent Islamic scholars. Then people can find me on my channel. Just put Patristic Pillars or put my name into YouTube, and you can pull me up. And I'll be clear with you all. I had a great time. I'd love to do a show with you all again in the future.
I just put my personal cell phone number in the live chat. And how many people do that? And so, no, take that and text me when you're going to be in town. That'd be awesome.
I will. Yep.
Arden, remember this is final thoughts too, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think it would have been more interesting to get into a little bit more conversation. I realized that there's like a 3v1 going on here, so William's probably going to be a little bit more on defensive than maybe he would be on like a one-on-one conversation or something, which is understandable. But there were a few things I would have liked to hammer down a little bit more on. But the only real important upcoming event that I'm going to is NanoCon in Tennessee in the end of July, I think, that's the next significant event I'm going to. So if you're going to be
Tennessee
there,
is that in?
Nashville. It's the Nashville ones.
That's only like a 3-hour drive from me. I'd have to come up and see you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a full weekend conference the way some of the other ones are, but it's a little bit of a shorter one, but it'll still be a lot of fun. Matt and I will definitely be there. So if anyone wants to meet us and say hi, take pictures and all that good stuff, we'd be happy to do that. But yep, again, I'm at the Arden Heart on everything. If you go to Twitter, you will find everything else that I do from Twitter, because I will almost always post about it there. So yep, that's my stuff.
Is anyone going to the Better Conference hosted by Tang in Indiana? I think they pushed it to September. There's that going on too.
I saw someone post about it, but I saw someone say the Better Conference, but I was like, I've never heard of the Better Conference, so I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they got a lot of big names going. I told Aaron about it. He's like, what? So I guess they hadn't even reached out to him. That guy says yes to everything. He travels more than anyone I've ever met. If you ask him to come to a conference, he'll come.
Is it the Better Discourse? I've seen those going around, or is it different than that?
I know the headliner is Dave Warnock, but everyone's going
awesome.
to it.
I love Dave. Dave is awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. Okay, guys. Any other final thoughts? We've still got 7 minutes left. I try to end right at 120 minutes, nice and tight. So, is there any? Let me actually pull up the. Oh God, dead air. Come on.
No, it's fine. You got the talking yourself through it. You're good.
Okay, hold on. We only have a few more slides left. Might as well get through them all.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, that wasn't it. This was, did Jesus have any brothers, sisters, or siblings? That's not it.
I would argue no. Yeah.
You would argue no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
because
actually
it
discussed this
just
earlier.
like it was Dr. Richard Carrier said in Galatians when Paul met James, the brother of Jesus, and he says, "Well, that doesn't prove Jesus even existed because they're talking about James as a brother in Christ, not his actual brother." But I looked at the
Well,
Koine Greek.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Koine Greek is the Delphos. It's the same for it doesn't. The Koine Greek doesn't.
But it reads like James is really his brother. And we found the sarcophagus of James. We
No,
found his bones. And it
well,
said it was Jesus's brother.
Let me answer that in two ways. Number one, that is a total fake. The sarcophagus.
Oh, it is a oh
yeah,
okay.
but even if it was real, that was a very popular title for James. And I want to be clear. I think Carrier is wrong to make that kind of an argument because even though James was not the child of Mary, he was clearly very close to Christ for him to have been given the title of the brother of the Lord in that kind of a designation. So I would believe a close relative. Would I argue that he was a half brother? I really don't know, but he was a close relative. And here's another thing I would add there, Jim. To me, it seems very clear that these brothers and sisters lived in the same household because the houses were divided up that way in the ancient times. So he was a relative. So I don't think Carrier's point would look, this disproves Christ because of this. I don't think it makes a good point there.
Arden, let's do this checklist. I'm going to ask you the first one, then Jonathan, next one, then William, the third one. Arden, do you admit that you are a sinner?
According to the Bible, I guess probably. I've been gay in every
according to
orientation.
your own subjective morality, do you admit
No.
that you are that you are not a sinner? All right,
No.
so you're free and clear. Okay, Jonathan, do you believe Jesus died to pay for your sins?
No.
And William, do you ask Jesus to forgive you and come into your heart?
I do every time at confession.
When was the last time you asked Jesus to come into your heart and for guidance?
I don't know. Probably this morning when I was at the gym.
Have you ever? Oh, for you guys that don't know, William is built like a brick shit house. He's. If you have any fighting skills whatsoever, I'm in big trouble. But if you're just big and strong, I think I can still take you. But if you even have like a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm not touching you. I can take guys like you if you don't have any fighting skill. I've done it a million times. But if you have even an ounce of fighting skill, I'm in big trouble because the dude is stacked. Oh, thanks to Native Atheist for that. Gosh, I got to scroll up. Native Atheist, the $10 super chat, and John. Oh, thanks, Jonathan. $6.66. Thanks so much.
Edgy.
Nice. I think that will do it. We got 3 minutes to spare. Let me think what I got coming up. Okay, so as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go pee. I'm going to take a little breather. And if anyone wants to be a part of my pre-recorded project for later on in the week, I'm going to do a 10-question quiz. It's going to be a YouTube short. It's going to be like 7 minutes long at most. If anyone wants to do that, panelists, you have first priority if you want to come in. Anyone else, just send me a message. There's a million ways to get a hold of me. I'm going to do that. You guys, I just want some different responses to this 10-question quiz. I'm going to make a little short out of it. Then next weekend, what's the chick track we're going to do, Jonathan?
The Mary one.
Oh, you're going to do that?
We're doing it
something
next
about
weekend.
Why Mary Cries or something? You're going to do that with
Sure.
with
Because
William?
I saw William.
It's called Why is Mary Crying?
Okay.
Yep.
Why is Mary Crying with Jonathan and William, and we'll get a couple other people in here, and we'll talk about some Marian. You know what? Say what you will about Catholics. I just don't understand why they are so obsessed with Mary being pure. It doesn't matter. Even if she was like, it's a misnomer that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. Anyone that thinks that, you're getting your two stories confused. The pericope, when the woman caught in adultery, that wasn't Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was from a high upbringing, nobility. She had a lot of money. She was a well-to-do woman. She was not a prostitute. So anyone thinks that anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I love talking about Mary. So definitely don't mind any pushback or any comments, any questions. Again, I'll be as respectful as I always am. I don't aim to be rude or offend anyone, but I realize sometimes that my faith and my beliefs are offensive. I'm just being honest about what I believe.
Oh, last thing. Let's try to do it in person. Me, William, Matt, and I keep my mouth shut and just keep the conversation going and
Yep.
keep it civil.
We'll-
And we
we'll
do it
do
in
it.
Austin sometime in the 2nd or 3rd week of July. Let's do that.
I'm
as well.
down for it. I am up for it. We will do it.
All right. All right, guys, that will do it. Thank you. And we'll see you all in a few days.
Hmm.